with my MBN service. So if it cuts out, guys, I'm trying to get this fixed. I'm so frustrating. It seems like when the last few days when I'm live streaming early morning at 6:30 a.m., it cuts out. So hopefully it doesn't, because my second live stream of the day, the last few days, it's been good. We'll see what happens. Guys, hopefully you've been paying attention to the channel. Big week, big weekend. I've uploaded my prediction of Crawford versus Canelo. That's on the fight prediction playlist. Stats don't lie. You'll get my prediction of Christian Mabili, Lester Martinez as well. That's on the channel. And then we also Sergey Boacek and Brandon Adams. So yeah, what's up, guys? So I went live yesterday with Gary and Muscles. The day before, I went live with Chilltown TJ. So I'm bringing you guys expert advice on the picks. And the cool thing about the channel, you guys already know this, is that we don't always have to agree with each other. It's not like it's not like I'm talking to guys to where, you know, we're all agreeing. Yesterday, we disagreed. We were 50-50, me and Gary. So I'm going to just get into this. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, do that now. If you see the boys on the chat, if you're on the live, you see the stars. Those are Johnny Says Boxing VIPs. Couple bucks a month gets you access to the Discord, gets you more access here on my channel. And we got so much to talk about. So I'm going to leave it open to you. I'm going to be going live again today. Inoue, I'm uploading Inoue versus MJ after this live stream. Inoue's camp just announced he's fighting again in a few months against Picasso. So we could talk about that. How do you feel about that? I'm not usually a big fan of guys who do look-ahead fights. You know, sometimes we've seen that backfire. What's up, Maurice L? Let's start talking real quick. I see Rambler in the house. Gary might be right with Lester. He's going to get one right. Yeah, guys, there's going to be a lot of close fights, boys. Tito in the house. Kyle Hayden, what's cracking? What's popping, PJ? Maurice L, Bud by decision or Canelo by stoppage. Those odds, man. See, Maurice, it's really going to come down to, and you know this. You guys know this. I have an educated chat. You know what I'm saying? I got the boys on the chat know what they're talking about. Where you're putting your money is going to come down to how do you see the strategy playing out? How do you see Bud, if you're on Team Bud, can you see him breaking down and doing something no one's ever done and stopping Canelo? Or if you're on Team Canelo, do you see him doing something that's never been done and seeing him beat Crawford? So it's interesting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Maurice Mabili. Yeah, so Maurice L, I got Mabili as well. I think people are sleeping on Mabili. I understand the hype with Lester. I like Lester. I've watched Lester. I think, you guys could do, if you want to do boxing maths, both men have fought Gongora. Gongora had Mabili in trouble in the 2nd and the 8th. I think a fight you guys should watch if you're on Team Lester is the fight against when Lester fought. We put it up. It's on UFC Fight Pass. I don't know why it got scrubbed from YouTube. I shared this in the Discord. For some reason, this fight got scrubbed from YouTube, but you could find it on Fight Pass. Rico Santana. So I feel that Lester Martinez lost to Rico Santana. Rico Santana is a tough out. Ironically enough, Santana is fighting on this card as well. He's fighting against Steven Nelson. I got Rico to beat Santana, or I got Rico to beat Nelson. So if you're sold on Lester, if you're 50-50 Lester, there's some fights you guys should watch. Definitely watch Mbili versus Gongora. You know, you'll see Mbili's toughness shine through. You'll see his ability to survive. You'll see him be able to actually box going backwards. Paulie said he couldn't box going backwards, so I had to highlight that in my video. I was like, if anything, we've seen in Mabili the ability to get hurt, almost be knocked out on his feet, and survive by clinching and boxing backwards. And if you're, kind of on the fence about Lester, like I said, go watch the Rico Santana fight. And then if you're on the fence about Steven Nelson and Rico, I think Santana, I think Bomac might go 0-3 on the weekend. And I'm a Bomac guy. I was one of these guys who I was happy when he got Trainer of the Year. But he has 3 tough fights. He got Bud versus Canelo, he got Nelson versus Rico, and he got Lester versus Mbili, dude. So it's interesting, boys. Goat, my guy. Goat, the last few live streams, mate, I appreciate you moderating some fools. There were some boys on the live stream that were kind of acting up. Whenever we get on the live stream and there's over like 100, 120 people on the live, you get a lot of people who aren't followers and they'll start talking trash. And them boys got moderated yesterday. Daniel Vega was cracking. I really like Lester. Goat and Billy draw Crawford to get knocked down. Oh, shit. Crawford to get knocked down. Either way, I think we're going to, I wish our betting apps for Crawford-Canelo had an option. Are we going to see something we've never seen? Like, are we going to see Canelo get dropped? Are we going to see Canelo get stopped? Are we going to see Bud lose? Are we going to see Bud get dropped? Are we going to see Bud get stopped? You know what I'm saying? I want to see those odds. I like Lester too, mate. I'm just not sold on Lester. I'm not convinced Lester is going to be able to hold up to the pressure of Mabili. PJ, pick the over and save your heartbreak. Trying to decide between Canelo and Crawford. I got Canelo on the money line. I got him at $1.60. So 10 stacks gets you $6,000. Let's go. Boxing fan, let's clean our shoes off on the way in. Let's brush our shoulders off. Let's hit that thumbs up and let's get after it. T-Mac in the house. One of the most underrated boxers of all time. People forget about Tracy McGrady. T-Mac. Damn, man. That was like my going into high school years. T-Mac, Vince Carter. I digress, though. Good boxing set. Oh, we got boxing today, though, boys. There's a good fight going on in 90 minutes. And I don't want to, speak to the degenerates, but there's a really good fight going down in about 20 minutes. I got sneaky action on this. I didn't tell nobody about this. But Bektemir Nurmagomedov. So Bektemir Nurmagomedov fights in the same division as Bektemir Melikuziev. I heard some of the boys on the live stream say that Bek the Bully was fighting this weekend. Not true. Bektemir Nurmagomedov is fighting this weekend. He's 17-0. He's a Kazakh fight. I always get mixed up with Kazakh and Uzbek. I think he's an Uzbek. And he fights in 20 minutes. He's fighting an 11-1 fighter, Steven Sumter. No shade on Sumter. I think Sumter's in his early 30s now. Bektemir, 17-0. I think he has 15 knockouts. I got Bektemir at $1.56. I sprinkled 100 on Bektemir to win by stoppage. Gets you $56 back. In my eyes, sneaky little sprinkle. Bektemir, I'm thinking he should get a mid to late round stoppage. It's a feature fight for him. It's in Vegas. If you guys don't know about Bektemir Nurmagomedov, check him out. See if your books are offering it. He's $1.06 on the money line, but $1.56 to win by stoppage. I'm rocking and rolling. We got Daniel Vega, level 1. I thought you already signed up. It's all good, brother. Yeah, Daniel was already signed up. He just re-signed up. I appreciate the support, boys. You guys make the chat poppin'. DJ, Bomac fighters. Yeah, DJ, you know how I feel about that. I just reference it. These are 3 tough fights. If anything, at least one might be going to a draw. Yeah, DJ knows. I'm not speaking in absolutes. That's the one thing I'm never going to do. Even with my money on certain fighters, there's no absolutes in boxing. And it's just that, maybe I'm not watching. I don't watch a lot of content creators. But it is a storyline. I mean, Bomac, dude, could you imagine if Bomac comes out of this weekend unscathed? Of the big fights, he comes out 3-0. If all of his fighters win, people better really start talking about this guy. I already put Bomac up there. My guy is Robert Garcia. Just, I have kind of some hometown connections with RGBA. When I was 27 and Kelly was 27, I think it was for the Gary Lockett fight. It might have been before the Lockett fight, but Pavlik, this was one of those fights where he left Jack Lowe for the first time. Jack was, his trainer since he was a kid. I first met Jack at Southside Boxing when we were 7 years old, Southside of Youngstown. But around 26, 27, that's when Kelly went out west and started training out with the boys. And Robert Garcia, he was still fighting at the time. So I've always kind of I love body punchers, but, obviously watching Bomac and watching him kind of mold and guide Crawford's career, especially if there's time, man. There's so many people in Bomac's journey with Crawford who were telling Bud to leave Bomac, and Crawford's loyalty shine through. it's another thing you got to tip your hat. And I mean, same could be said with Reynosa and Canelo. You know, I'm a coach. Firstly, I'm a coach. And so my eyes always on, like, you know, I like fighters, but once I, you know, start researching tape, I'm always going to learn about the coaches as well. We have some good coaches this weekend, mate. You got, you know, and I'm sure I'm going to forget some. Manny Robles, you know, Manny Robles has a couple of his boys fighting, and I'm sure I'm going to miss some of them. But yeah, with every great fighter, there's going to be a good camp. So when you're looking at your film study, when you're trying to put money on these fights, it's worth kind of diving into what camp do they come from, who's their coach, how long has they been coached by them, because consistency matters in sports. In any sport, you know, think about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I used this comparison before, the AFC North, because I'm a Browns fan, and it's no secret that we're a horrible franchise dating back to Otto Graham and Jim Brown. And so let's see if it's freezing. And so, you know, one of the things I always talk about with the Steelers is their consistency from the head coaching position. You know, they went from Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher to Mike. 3 coaches in, I think, what, 40 years, maybe 50 years? And so you look at the Browns' inconsistency. How many head coaches have they had since Marty Schottenheimer, since the late 80s, when Ernest Biner fumbled the ball? Tons of them. And then look at the quarterback position. You know, you had, you know, the Steelers, if you go back to Cordell Stewart. You know, Cordell Stewart had some good years. And then I think there was like Mike Tomczak in and out, and then they drafted Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger had all those years. But my point is, consistency matters with anything. And fighters, sometimes when you see fighters, you know, leave their camp, they go through a loss, they go through a bad performance, and they start leaving, you kind of see their sort of results kind of sway. Bomac is cemented as a legend. Calvin did get his ass whooped, though, but he should be trainer of the year. I forgot about that fight. That belt to ass. That was that Virginia card. There was that whole card was kind of weird, wasn't it, in Norfolk with the whole Keyshawn thing. So guys, where's your money at? You know, we're 15 minutes in. I have no faith in my live stream. I have no faith in my my NBN router. I'm just waiting for it to freeze because the last few morning live streams they've frozen. So let's get all this stuff out now. Where's your money at? What questions do you have? What fight are you boys convinced? What's your lock? And what are you most sort of nervous with your picks? Because I'm doing my long parlay. Let me know if you guys need picks too, because I haven't released any yet. It's my Thursday morning. On the channel today, you're gonna get my long parlay, and then in the Discord, I'm giving you my locks. I'm giving you my method of victories. Yeah, I know. DJ, it's gonna freeze, boy. I got PTSD from it. You know what I'm saying? You know it's gonna freeze. I got no faith in it. Biggest lock is Patty Donovan. Let's go. Yep. If you take Patty Donovan, Nazo in the house. Let's go. What do you think about Crawford to win by knockout? Bro. You think Crawford to win by knockout in the 3rd and 4th is insane. That means that he has to hurt Canelo early and get him out of there. I got Patty by knockout, Franklin and Ishmael. Man, I was telling the boys about Franklin. People forget about Franklin. I'm not sold on Jico, however you want to pronounce it. 6'9" guy, fought nobody. Franklin, if we get the Franklin who's in shape, Franklin should handle this guy pretty easily. Evie, 44 ounce. What do you think about the catchweight with Sergio? Yeah. 44 ounce. I talked about this yesterday, mate. It's a great question. We broke that news in the Discord. TJ and I were talking about it. I brought it up on the live stream with Gary. What do you guys make of it as well? I heard that Boacek's camp asked for the catchweight, and the catchweight's only, I think, at 156, 2 pounds. If anything, what are we talking about with patterns in boxing? 2 fights in a row, Boacek struggling to make 54. I don't think it's a good sign. Why ask for 2 pounds and not the entire jump to 60? Why not? You know what I'm saying? Because both guys are walking. Brandon's looking good. Brandon at least walks. You got to think Brandon walks at 175. Not the tallest guy. And I heard Boacek walks at 180, 185. So I don't know, man. I never like that when I see that. Patty Donovan, Callum Walsh, Canelo, anyway. Daniel Vega, that's what I'm talking about. I didn't even have to share. Me and Vega we're connected because look at those picks. Look at this. Callum, you know, it's going to be a fun fight. There's a lot of fights here, boys, this weekend. And, you know, this is for the bettors, the non sort of like my favorite fighters fighting, but for the bettors. There's a lot of fights, guys. There's at least 3 of them where even though I have money on one guy, you're kind of like, oh, shit, if this guy pulls it off, my parlay's going to get burned and my bank account's going to get burned, but I won't be that salty. Like, I told you guys, my channel's not, I'm not telling you guys to bet to get rich. You know what I'm saying? This is entertainment. This is the love of the game. So, like, my money's on Canelo because I know some of you boys bet to get rich, and I can't give you my, but if Bud wins, I'm going to be happy for him. Like, I'm cheering for, that's the weirdest thing to say, and I don't know a better, you know, way to put it, but I'm cheering for Crawford, man. I want to see him become the first 3-time undisputed champion. I want to see him come up to 68. I want to see him beat Canelo, but I didn't bet on him. This will probably be my single most largest bet in the last 6 months, and it's on the money line, and it's Canelo to win. But you know, it's not like $10,000. It's not like $50,000 like some of the boys, but it's enough. You know, I work for myself. Nobody pays me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm relying on keeping my lights on, running my whole operation. So, you know, any loss is a loss. But that being said, there's a Canelo Crawford fight. Vargas versus Walsh. I got money on Walsh, but, you know, I kind of want to see Vargas to win. I've always been a fan of Fernando, you know, Emiliano. So my money's on Walsh, but, you know, it'd be cool to see Vargas win, but I'm not betting on him. Mabili versus Martinez. Obviously, I don't really have a dog in that race. I got Mabili winning. And then Boacek versus Adams. I want to see Boacek get his lick back, but at the same time, people have been sleeping on Adams for so long. You know, he kind of got shelved from 21 to 24. He had 3 fights in 2024. I thought he beat Katsarakis, and he's only been stopped once. You have to go back to 2015 when Apollo Thompson stopped Adams. So, you know, money's on Boacek. At 35, it's now or never for Adams. I feel like he's a guy, super talented, 154, been in the top 20 for like a decade, and he's still not a household name. So part of me, the romantic in me is like, shit, man, you know, I wouldn't be pissed if Brandon, you know, I'd be happy for him if he wins is my point. So, David, damn, Johnny, you're very confident. I am. I'm very confident on Canelo, David. I am. I don't want to, I'm so confident. Dude, because weight classes matter, David. Weight classes matter. Styles matter. Rewatch. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Kuluwango. I don't want to talk about that. Let's not talk about that. This isn't the channel for that. But yeah, I'm aware. David, what have you done for me lately? Bud versus Madrimov happened at 54. Bud versus Canelo was happening at 68. Everybody is saying that Bud is gonna. I disagree. If you watch my live stream, we went back and forth. I went back and forth with Gary from 3D. I disagree that Bud's gonna have the faster hands because the version of Bud with his fastest hand speed, in my opinion, was at 140. Bud's hands at 40 were faster than they were at 47. Definitely faster than they were at 54. The Bud at 54 looked like, you know, a world level fighter. But the Bud at 40, Hall of Famer. Bud at 47, Hall of Famer. Did the Bud at 54 really look like a Hall of Famer? We only saw him fight once. But the guy who fought Madrimov, you know, I had him winning 8-4. He did what he needed to do. Madrimov's a nightmare style to deal with. How do you look good against the guy? You know, I mean, Virgil looked good against him. You know, Virgil, but, you know, I'm not doing boxing maths. The reason why I'm 100% confident with Canelo on the money line is Canelo's durability, Canelo's longevity, Canelo's 168. Canelo's fought at light heavyweight before. What are we talking about, guys? Canelo's fought at light heavy. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this is a, and let's get to the nitty gritty of it. This is a cash grab. Come on. Somebody had to say it. Good for Bud. Bud got that generational wealth. Hopefully, you know, I think I heard he's getting like 50. Don't believe Canelo's getting 150 and Bud's getting 10. I think it's like 50, to be honest. I heard like 50, 75. What are you guys hearing? That's a good parlay. Let's go. Canelo by knockout. Ishmael Davis got absolutely massacred for, yeah. I'm staying. So you boys asked me to pick Ishmael Davis and Gallardo. It's a 50-50. I'm probably not throwing that on my parlay. I probably won't have time to break it down. Julius in the house. Got to get that star back, big fella. Money Meech. Canelo going to dent Bud, man. Just hope he can withstand and fire back. Yeah, I agree. Syed. Canelo is more of a fan of Bud than Crawford. Yeah. Crawford's a mean guy, dude. That's why I like Bud. I like Crawford. I like Crawford's mindset. If you watch my breakdown, we become fans of fighters because we see something in that fighter that we could look up to. And a lot of this has nothing to do with how they fight. A lot of it, when we're fans of fighters, it's probably like how they carry themselves. Maybe there's something in their personality that you admire. For me, I talked about this on my breakdown with Bud. I've always liked the underdog mentality. I've always liked that chip on his shoulder. I've always liked the road warrior aspect. I mean, what other guy do you know, so many times had to go into enemy territory as the B side and win? Now, no one talks about that side of his career, 35 and 40, when he was going to the UK and having to, take these fights. And then if he was in America, he had to fight in a baseball field in Omaha, and then he finally started getting approved to fight in the arena in Omaha. But he wasn't getting these featured fights in Vegas. And even the EJ fight, he had a campaign. He had a politic for that. He had to work with EJ. EJ was the A side once again. So all of this is why, I've always been a fan of Crawford. You mix that with how mean he is in the ring and that sort of unflappable confidence he has because he knows he put in the work. Guys, all of that is great. But this fight, is at 168. I think Patty stops Crocker. I do. 50. Yeah, so I heard 52. Yeah, I heard 10, but that was obvious BS. 100. Julius, this fight reminds me of Mayweather-McGregor. This kind of reminds me of Floyd versus Manny. So you think it reminds you of Mayweather versus McGregor. I thought that was an exhibition. I see why, Julius, but, we're doing a little bit of a friendly, around the table. This is like the boys in college. We're around the table passing a blunt. This is like back in the day, my day, I'm an old head. We used to drink Mad Dog 2020, Wild Irish Rose, St. Ives Special Brew, what you don't know about that. And that's when we're around shooting the shit. Nobody gets emotional, disagreeing, all that good things. I think, Julius, this has more of a feel of Mayweather Pacquiao, based on the fact that both Hall of Fame boxers, guys in opposite sort of divisions, not that wide of a gap of Canelo and Bud, and then guys that aren't in their prime. Bud, neither guy's in their prime, and neither guy with Mayweather McGregor to me was more akin to these Jake Paul fights, if you will. I almost got 20-1 odds for Vargas and Billy Bud parlay, but I bet it's all good, Voorhees. I bet you sometimes you hit too. Floyd, yeah, man. Hey, man, can you talk about Callum Walsh? Yeah. What's up, Vander? Callum Walsh for Fernando Vargas. Vargas is coming in as the B side. He feels disrespected. Callum Walsh is definitely the A side. We know about him historically. We know about the promotional push he's gotten from Dana White. Dana White will tell you straight to your face that it wasn't Graham Boylan who found Conor. It was him, which is absolute horseshit. Graham Boylan is the guy who is, the Cage Warriors president. He's the UK's version of Dana with the UFC. Graham Boylan, was the guy who brought Conor up. Graham also brought Paddy the Baddy up. Every guy you see who comes to that Cage Warriors sort of farm system, Graham Boylan is the guy behind that. So that being said, Conor breaks through the UFC. Obviously, we know the Conor McGregor effect changed the whole game. When Conor was at his best, he was a goddamn lightning in the bottle. He went straight to the mainstream. Dana has spoken on record that, Callum Walsh not only is from Ireland, but Dana feels and felt like he sees in Callum a potential of what Conor meant to MMA. He thinks Callum could do that to boxing. The difference is Walsh has no chat. He has no chat. He has no shit game. He has no talk. He shit on the mic. That's part of Conor's sort of mystique, is that he could scrap. He would back up his words, but dude, Magic, Mystic Mac, he said, we didn't come to take part. We came to take over. He goes, Paddy the Hooligan Houlihan, you can't beat that guy. Cathal Pedred, rear naked choke. You'd have to have a special performance to come to Dublin and beat me. Dude, but fucking, we didn't come to take part. We came to take over. Like this shit on the cuff. Like Walsh isn't that. So my point is, Walsh is a better boxer than Vargas. Walsh is more technical. Walsh is more seasoned, more polished. Not a perfect fighter. Watch I think it was Villarreal. I think it was Villarreal dropped Walsh 3 times. You can't find that fight either on BoxRec. Walsh won the fight. But yeah, so Vargas is a guy who is the son of a boxing royalty, big puncher, wants to fight. The best way of looking at it, Vargas is a fighter stylistically, a lot of holes in his game. Walsh is a boxer who could fight as well. I think Vargas will probably get stopped. I haven't hit a parlay. PJ, dog, you haven't hit a parlay yet? PJ, if you haven't hit a parlay yet, shrink it down to like 2. You got to find a victory, mate. David, before they fought, who did you predict would win, Canelo or Bivol? Dimitri Bivol, 100%. And then when Bivol fought Better Beeve, I took Better Beeve both times. So, Bivol's a nightmare, man. Canelo is, this is the first, like, this is 100% the first time I've ever picked against Bud, though. I got to be honest with you, and I have receipts. The first time I've ever bet against him. And, you know, in my opinion, I was a lot. If there's OG guys on this stream who remember the July 2023 fight, you'll remember my content. I was all pro Errol Spence Jr. You know, I was a big fan of the Southpaw. I watched Errol in the amateurs, the marketability, you know, him overcoming his issues outside of the ring, him overcoming 2 car crashes, his fight style, that marauding style, you know, how sort of like, you know, EJ just had an energy about him. But when I did my Stats Don't Lie video, I picked Bud to win. I just said that this is an awful matchup for Errol. I was like 5 years earlier. Who knows? I actually said even Errol at his sharpest, the matchup style with Bud is just all wrong for him. So I would have taken Bud, I think, 9 out of 10 times to beat Errol, even before the crash. So, but with this is different. This is one, like Crawford, this is the first time in Bud's career where I feel he cut corners. And Crawford's a guy that never has cut corners. And what I mean by that is, how do you not either take another fight at 54? How do you not take a fight at 60? You know what I'm saying? You like not taking a fight at 60 was wild to me. And when I'm talking about cutting corners, I'm talking about the process to get to point A to point B. If we're doing it analytically, if we're doing it like a scholar, you know what I'm saying? If you research what the scientific method is when you're doing experiments, or you know, you have to test theories, you have to hypothesize, you have to research, you have to then come up with a systematic approach to whatever you're testing. Bud testing the waters and jumping to 68, he skipped the observational sort of approach of the whole process. You can't just go. Bud's a welterweight. You know, he's going to tell you, yeah, I took the fight at 54. I fought an undefeated Madrimov, great amateur career, and I put belt to ass. Yeah, I had him win an 8-4. But you haven't fought since then. You didn't fight at 60. You never took a fight at 68. What would have hurt to take a fight at 68? Didn't have to be for a title, or even fought like Lara at 60. You know, you could have. That's what I thought should have happened. Lara, he's there for the taking for Bud at 60, 42 years old. Bud could have, you know, the sanctioning bodies would have allowed it. Bud jumped up. He beats Madrimov. Bud could have, you know, he could have gone into this fight 35, 40, 47. Let's say he fought Lara for the belt. He could have been a 5-division world champion if he took that fight. And then this fight versus Canelo would have been an opportunity to be a 6-division world champion, which now we're talking about rare air. 6-division, not a lot of guys. So anyway, I just think he skipped some. I think he skipped some steps. I think I understand though, he's not not young anymore. And also, guys, watching Media Week, he looks old. You guys aren't going to want to hear that. This is coming from an old head. You know, I'll be 44 this year. So I referenced this. I'll be 44 this year. Bud looks old. His physical look, he got old overnight, mate. Look what he looked like in the lead up against Madrimov. I'm talking skin. I'm talking facial features. we get old as men. You start seeing the eyes get more drawn out. The weight cuts start showing up. You start seeing wrinkles here. You start seeing swelling here. Look here in his eyes. Look here. And, you know, when he looked, EJ, you would have been hard pressed to find another, I think, 35-year-old. 2023, July, 2 years ago, he'll be 38. So yeah, you would have been hard pressed to find another 35-year-old going on 36 who looked that fresh as Bud did against Errol. Like, I'm talking like, you know, his physical appearance. And obviously, you know, what he looked like in the ring was amazing. Great performance. He was a bully that night. But now watching him during fight week, coming out of the limo, watching him give interviews, notice his skin, you know, we get old. And he's looking old. He looks older. He definitely looks like he's aged. And that's what happens, you know? And it's, I think he should have took a fight at 60. I do. I think that's going to be his undoing. And you know what we're going to hear? He dared to be great. Daring to be great against a guy like Canelo is that's a tough task, boys. It's a real tough task. Anyone got eyes on Jacob Bank versus Zugi? Come on, Mar the Prince. Come on, Mar the Prince. They ain't ready for these obscure fights, boy. CapQuest, the best Errol wasn't beating Bud that night. True. And Bud would have to top that performance. CapQuest. 6. Yeah, Bud rushed into this fight, most likely due to the perception performance at 54. Sir, PJ, the fight is 50-50. I think Bank's going to lose. PJ's in the house. Greg Amador, Camacho versus Alasquaga. Dude, I thought Princess fights... No. Camacho, Alasquaga fights tomorrow. That's a good fight. Alasquaga should knock him out. Camacho's a live dog, but Alasquaga... Greg, I gotta mention this. I brought this up on my live stream yesterday. One of my buddies back in Youngstown, Ohio, he's really close to Junto Nakatani. When Junto comes to America, it's well documented. Nakatani does his camps here. Here, I'm in Australia, in America. When I talk about Nakatani, because he's one of my favorite fighters, that length, that style. When I talk about Nakatani, my buddy back home talks about Alasquaga like I talk about Nakatani. He feels that Alasquaga is that dude already. He speaks really highly of him, acts like he's a future Hall of Famer. So he's been in my ear all week. He says that Camacho's a tough dude, but Camacho's style and bravery is going to get him stopped. So I haven't seen the odds, but I would actually, I would probably take Alasquaga by stoppage. Canelo looks older also. Yeah, so Stacks, I'm not way to hold me accountable, Stacks, say less, but I wasn't saying he looks old and Canelo looks younger. Just to clarify, that's not why I said that. I was saying that he looks older than he is older. We get old. But you know how some guys, you don't see them age until they retire? You know what I mean? You don't see them get old until they stop fighting. You don't really watch guys, he's had a long career, Crawford. We're watching him get old. Physically, we're watching him age. We're watching him look older. He looks older. There's no shade on that. Fucking we age. Own that shit. Crocker versus Donovan. Yeah, it's a tough hill. Crocker's such a huge favorite on that fight. Bud been enjoying that money. You know what he's also been doing, CapQuest? He's been traveling a lot. So CapQuest brings up a good point. So I used to date a flight attendant. We had fun. She was a flight attendant. And I would be able to fly anywhere I wanted in the world for free, but I had to fly standby. And I remember throughout that relationship, she would tell me how hard flying was on the body. Just the aspect, biologically going 30,000 feet in the air, taking the human body 30,000 feet in the air, it does things to the body that, when you do it a lot, it's kind of irreversible in terms of like circulation, lack of sleep. It messes up your central nervous system. It throws all of your systems out of whack. So when you're flying a lot, if you look at your overall patterns of behavior over 365 days, the healthiest way to live, and I wrote a book about this, The 24-Hour Reset, the healthiest way to live is waking up at the same time, going to bed at the same time, eating at the same time, going to the bathroom at the same time. So having regulatory, systematic patterns of behavior. one of the things, other than the 30,000 feet of what elevation does to the body, what flying does when you do it a lot, is it throws all of these systems out of whack. And so the longer, the more, the frequent you fly, it kind of throws things out. This is, what, I don't know if that's it. I just think Bud's older now. He's going to be 38. But yeah, so Bud just didn't get a lineup. Biggest fight of his life. He couldn't get a shape. We were talking about that, David, on the live stream. Getting maped up. My boys used to say, I used to have, Johnny, you got to get a mape up, boy. Get that skin fade. Yeah, boy. Got to look good. Johnny, can cocaine serve as a performance enhancement? Word is Crocker tested positive for coke. Yeah, Mark, 100%. So, great question, which sounds, and Mar the Prince is being serious. So, from a baseball perspective, I played multiple sports as a kid, lifelong athlete, and baseball was one of the ones I was really good at, went to college for it. And so, as I could talk to you guys about boxing historically, I could do the same thing with baseball and a few other sports. In the 1980s, baseball was so insane, and this is why cocaine is in the drug category as stimulants. The reason why cocaine's actually categorized the same as coffee, and just because it's a stimulant, nicotine's a stimulant, and what stimulants do is it increases blood flow, it increases circulation, and it's been scientifically proven to increase focus in small periods of time. So with this being said, so amphetamines, methamphetamines, in small dosages help with focus, concentration, just being locked in. So in the 1980s, in the locker rooms, in all Major League Baseball locker rooms, Google this, you had two coffee pots. You had a regular coffee pot, which is regular coffee, and then you had a one labeled greenies. So in the 80s, greenies in the baseball world were basically amphetamines, cocaine, amphetamines, stimulants in the coffee to where the boys would drink it before a game. And a famous example of this is, look at the season Doc Gooden had. I think it was the 1985 Mets. Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry. I think Doc was 21. People sleep on Doc Gooden, one of the best seasons ever for a pitcher. People like talking about, and no shade on, who's the kid from Pittsburgh right now, Paul Skeens. They talk about Skeens. They talk about, there's a couple other young buck pitchers. I'm not really tuned in with baseball like I was with the newer guys. And they talk about this guy's changing the game. Bitch, look what Doc Gooden did when he was 21. Now, granted, we know afterwards, the World Series season, this was the season they beat the Red Sox where Bill Buckner had that, he booted the ball. He's playing first. But and the unfortunate thing about that is Buckner was a Hall of Fame guy. Buckner had a great career, but people only remember him for that one game against the Mets where he booted the ball. And that was that team. That was Darryl Strawberry, and they were known partiers. But cocaine is on the banned substance list for performance-enhancing drugs by the Olympic Testing Committee. The acronym slips my mind. Johnny, when should I place the Canelo? I already bet mine. Lewis, if you like moneyline Canelo, put that bet in now because those odds are going to keep decreasing. Crocker was doing that. Crocker was on that boy. He was saying, tell your white girl about my white girl. I'm part of the reason there's a white world. Canary burgundy. I call it lemon red. Yellow diamonds in my ear. I call them lemon heads. Lemon head in the bed. Ice like Winnipeg. Gemstone. Flintstone. You could say I'm friends with Fred. Knocker was doing that. Kids should motivate him more. Did you get to join? Man, a gentleman never kisses and tells. Is that rumor of Crocker true or did he test positive? I got to check it out. DJ, I like to see that urban. There's two. Johnny, do you think Raiko Santana could beat old? Yes, I do. Henry, I have Raiko winning. I thought Raiko beat Lester Martinez. Guys, go watch Raiko versus Lester. I thought Lester got a gift against Raiko. Raiko's a tough out. I think Steven Nelson's slow, flat-footed, old, doesn't use feints, wings his punches. Yeah, this is probably his swan song. If Eminem walks Bud out again. I think that's something you only do once, right? I'm about to go get some cocaine. I could tell you some crazy stories about that white, though. Dude, I'll leave that for a different live stream. When I was a young buck. 44 ounce or Kendrick. E40 or Kendrick. Buckner was not a Hall. He had good numbers. He had a better Henry. He had a better career than people. Look at his numbers. I think he was close to like a 280, 290 hitter. You know, he drove the ball in. He was a contact guy. Never made a lot of errors. He won some Gold Gloves. My point was, people only remember him for that error. Some people say he gave Lawrence Taylor. Oh, you know it did, dude. Lawrence Taylor. Who is the dude? Who was the middle linebacker for the Bears? Singletary. Michael Singletary would get down playing middle, like low, and he'd be reading the field. This is like 80s, 90s NFL when the middle linebacker, when they're running like, I think they'd be running like a traditional 4-3 defense. And dude, Singletary was definitely on something, boy. He would get low in his stance and be surveying the field, calling audibles on the defensive side. This was before the quarterback would read the defenses, and the system on offense wasn't like it is now, where the quarterback has free reins to call audibles. And this is why I always tell people what made Brady so great coming out of Michigan. Brady, nothing he did was great. He barely. I'm pretty sure Drew Henson started over Tom Brady one of the seasons in Michigan. And check that out. There's a guy named Drew Henson who was a baseball player who I'm pretty sure started over Tom Brady at Michigan. But the reason why he was the last pick in the draft is because he was slow, flat-footed, didn't do anything really well on paper, arm strength okay. But once he got his opportunity, and it was the year that Drew Bledsoe was taking the Patriots deep into the playoffs, and Bledsoe, I think in the wild card round, maybe in the last game of the season, if I'm an old head, Bledsoe gets hurt out, and then Brady gets his opportunity, and he never looked back. But what made Brady great, and which people, maybe they talk about it, he helped change the NFL, is that he was so visceral at the line of scrimmage. He was so smart. He was so quick. He would be able to pick up on what a defense was doing, and in a split second, with the whistles, the crowd, everything, he could audible. And that mind, that sort of brain, that football head was able to see, and that's how he operated. And I hate the Patriots, by the way, and I hate Michigan. Johnny, what do you think of Canelo under 1.5 and Naoya under 1.5? Ooh, depth in the house checking in. I feel you. What do you think of Canelo under 1.5? Man, I have to. Didn't on my live stream yesterday with Gary, I talked about I like the over with Naoya with the knockdowns. I like over 1.5 with the Inoue knockdowns, and I like the under in Canelo. I haven't taped fully, but I think Agarco might edge it. Guys, I'm staying away from that fight. I'm staying away from Agarco. We don't have to bet on every single fight. Killer Cam, that purple haze. Canelo, Jake Paul, Michael Buffer, King. I think moving Lawrence Okoli too fast, he looks horrible. Yeah, that is heaven sent. Henry Brown trivia. Johnny, who is the Browns' all-time passing yards leader? Shout out Ohio. I mean, all-time, old era, I'm pretty sure Otto Graham holds all of the Cleveland Browns records. Otto Graham was a guy in the 50s and 60s before the NFL merger, before there was the Super Bowl. And this is when the Browns would actually win championships, when they had, like, Jim Brown. Super Bowl era, Bernie Kosar. University of Miami, went to Boardman High School, Youngstown, Ohio. Bernie, oh, baby, the Super Bowl. We never made it to a Super Bowl, though. The fumble, the drive, the mistake on the lake. I could go on and on. Dude, we trade Ernest Biner his second, third year because he fumbles, because the coach Schottenheimer should have kicked the field goal. Trade Biner, and then he goes on to the Redskins to win a couple Super Bowls. Kind of a really good career. What's Baker doing? We get rid of Baker, dude? We're beating Kansas City by 10 in the fourth quarter, and then we have this collapse like we do in Cleveland, and the referees didn't help us out, and then we get rid of Baker Mayfield, and look what Baker's doing. Baker is cooking. God damn. Let's not talk about the Browns, boys. Let's just not do it. Who do I have? I have Alasquaga stopping him. Everything I've watched, everything who's my boy. Some of my boys are connected with Alasquaga's camp. Henry, they talk about Princess like he is. Like I said, they talk about Princess how I talk about Nakatani. They think Alasquaga is that guy, and they think that his opponent Camacho is really tough and durable, but he's going to be too brave. And they feel that bravery is going to be why Alasquaga stops him. It's easy to audible when your team. Yeah, Voorhees. I knew that was coming. Pineda. I like Alasquaga. Same. Which is the safest bet? Canelo. Canelo money line. Canelo money line, guys. Safest bet. Canelo money line. Overhand right for Canelo, 1 knockdown. Yeah. So what I'm thinking it's gonna be, because rumor is Bud's gonna fight him at southpaw, right? And I think it's gonna be an uppercut. Because the thing about Canelo, man, think about Canelo's viral punches. It's never just one shot. What was the shot he landed against Khan? You know, that step back right in the middle of the ring. Boom! Right hand. What was the shot he dropped Berlanga with? Boom! Left hook. What was the shot he shattered old boy's face with, Billy Joe? Uppercut. So he has options. And he doesn't have any fat. Dude, the punch that, if I were Bud, the punch Bud needs to worry about is because this version of Crawford, and this is what I was telling Gary last night, is that he's much more flat and his head isn't moving anymore. His head, watch the Madrimov fight. Boom, boom, boom. He got caught, I think, with 3 or 4 backhands against Madrimov. And, you know, Israel's not sitting on anything. Israel's fighting him like, duh, 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 duh. You know, that's it. And so Crawford's kind of like, there's moments in that fight where Crawford's kind of like, he's that's gone, right? So that being said, Canelo doesn't have any fat on his lead hook. He doesn't even turn his front foot. So I'm here. I'm Canelo, ortho. Bud's here if he's fighting me at southpaw. Bud is going to pair the jab, right? So my front foot, if I'm Canelo, is my left foot, right? Bud at southpaw, his front foot is his right foot. So now we have a game that we're playing, front foot battle. Canelo is going to want to keep his lead foot on the outside of Crawford's lead foot, and Crawford's going to want to negate that. So the first thing that has to happen if Crawford's going to play that game in the pocket is he has to win the front foot battle, because the second he lets Canelo win that front foot battle and keep his lead foot on the outside of Bud's lead foot, this is when Bud's at southpaw. That's when Canelo he's going to lull him. You know, they're going to parry. They're going to parry. When Bud commits, Canelo's going to throw that hook. Woo, boy. We're going to see. We're going to see if Bud can handle the hook. We're going to see. We're going to see, dude. I don't know if he's going to be able to handle the hook. I think Bud's going to be strong to the body. But, you know, I think it's going to be the hook, man. I just don't. All right, guys. What is Crawford going to show Canelo that Canelo's never seen? Answer me this question, guys. And this is coming from a Crawford fan. What is Crawford going to show Canelo that he's never seen? Canelo, on the other hand, is going to be the biggest guy Bud's ever fought, the strongest guy Bud's ever fought, the most experienced guy Bud has ever fought. What is Bud bringing to the table to Canelo that Canelo's never seen? Canelo's been in there with Floyd, and I said this in my breakdown. You want to watch the best example that I could think of a guy who leveled up after a loss. Watch Canelo's fights. Granted, he was only 23. Watch what Canelo looked like before the Floyd fight. There's a lot of footage because he went pro, I think, at 17. You could, even from 20 to 23, he was getting featured. You know, he got featured a lot up to get that Floyd fight, obviously. He was already selling out. And then watch Canelo after the Floyd fight. His torso, all this movement, all this. Now, he obviously isn't that same guy anymore. He's 35 now. My point is, he's been in there with Floyd. Triple G multiple times. Dimitri Bivol. These are bigger guys, smaller guys, faster guys. These are guys with multiple different styles. Canelo has been able to what? Win all of them except 2. What is Crawford going to show Canelo that he hasn't seen? This is my biggest issue. What are we going to see? Scorpy Sag in the house. So, Scorpy, welcome to the Insider Group. Here's what you got, brother. To get access to our Discord, Scorpy, go to my interface, YouTube, and all of the insiders now have access to a separate post section. It'll say members only. In the members only section, you'll see the Discord link. Click that. Your whole world's good. You're going to see all the boys in there. Johnny, do you think Billy Martinez under 1.5 knockdowns? Mate, man, the odds either way are so good. Maybe I should write this on paper and just pin it in our Discord. I will do a method of victory like that, Mar. But when I start getting sexy with, over knockdowns, will the fight go the distance, method of victories, if I'm normally betting, hundreds on an outcome, when I'm doing method of victories, I'm only going to bet, I might bet $25 on it. So will I take a bet? Will I do something like that? Yes. And if you're asking me, do you think Mabili should this be your only pick, Mar? No, obviously. And I know it's not going to be. So now we're just doing this for fun, right? Do I think Mabili Martinez under 1.5 knock? No, I think they're both at risk from getting dropped. We've seen both get dropped before. We've seen both get hurt before. Actually, I take that back. I don't know if Mabili's been dropped. He got stunned and hurt against Gongora, but he didn't go down, which is insane. And Lester got dropped. Didn't Lester get dropped against... I don't know if Lester got dropped against Ryko, but I have Santana winning. Watch the Santana fight. I had Santana beating Lester. I think that's what it was. I think with both of their styles, though, more front foot guys, one's tighter, throws that uppercut. Martinez longer. I definitely would play the over knockdown prop. Uppercuts, mean counters, bum. Has Canelo fought a better problem solver than Crawford? What are you talking about? I mean, what do you mean? He fought Floyd. Like, this is also the thing we have to talk about. Crawford's not Floyd. Like, there's no version of Crawford at any weight class that beats Floyd Mayweather. And I'm not a Floyd fan. You guys have to be real with yourselves. Floyd Mayweather, whether it was Pretty Boy Floyd or Money Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather is a savant, all-time great. Bud is a level below him. Problem solver. Crawford's a dog. Crawford at his best is bullying you, though. Crawford, he could take you into deep water. Crawford at his best, he's switch hitting. He has power in both hands. He's not the best mover. This is what I'm talking about. Like, Crawford was never known for having the best feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was never known for being a mover. Now, angles, different, but like when we're talking about a mover, I'm talking about a guy who uses the entire ring. That's not his style. Problem solver, come on, dude. Floyd Mayweather. Angles, interested to see how Crawford works the body. How's he get marked, right, man? I'm checking out the open workouts, guys. Minimum plus, join the membership. See you guys have to fight. Appreciate you, Heaven Sent. Mar the Prince, Davis versus Agarco. Guys, that Ishmael Davis-Agarco fight, I don't see a lot of value to bet on it. I don't. That's all I'm going to say. Guys, there's so many good fights that there's so much value for your money. Whether it's Boacek Adams, whether it's Mabili versus Lester, whether it's Bud versus Canelo, whichever way you go, at least you're going to get high-level boxing. When you look at with what we have in front of us, you got Inoue fighting, you got Elisquaga fighting. These guys in their divisions are world, top 10 guys. When you're talking about betting on guys like Davis and Gallardo, I mean, I wouldn't put them at the world level. So why bet on them right now? We focus on like, you want to eat lobsters and crabs. We don't need to eat, gas station sandwiches right now. And lost to Floyd. Yeah, he lost to Floyd. He did, but you said the best problem solver. Did you see Usyk is playing in a charity? Yeah, but he's hurt, right? Usyk got that back injury. Canelo is going to beat the... I think so, Miguel. I think Canelo... I think Crawford is going to... that's the same. Sumter versus the Dove. Did that already go down? That fight's going down now, I thought. You think Sumter's beating Beck? Weight and size only argument for Canelo. No. Not weight and size. I want to see when Crawford gets clipped and proceeds to get in that wide stance. I love that part. Yeah, dude, like I said, mate, how do you not like Bud? That's David. We're on the same side. It's just we're betting differently. Dude, Bud, like, all right, guys, playing basketball growing up, this was like the 90s era NBA, and we would mimic what our the guys we liked would do in the streets playing basketball, right? But there was a thing where I grew up when we're playing, basketball one time was, I would go to high school. We would go to high school basketball practice, and then after practice, my boys and I would go to the YMCA and play another 3 hours. Rec league. So basketball to this day, the funnest sport I ever played. Probably my best sport, believe it or not. I put some little clips on my Instagram, but at the time, 5'11", I wasn't the fastest guy. Didn't have the best hops. I was a 2-guard. My point is, when Bud gets hit like that, like you're talking about, David, and he gets that wide stance, it reminds me of like slapping the floor. Defense, let's go. You pull the shorts up, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like akin to that wide stance. And dude, we're gonna see it. It's like that Bud pulling his shorts up, slapping the hardwood. Defense. Ryko dropped Martinez. He did. There you go. So I thought I had that right. So I would play the over knockdown prop more. And I like Ryko to beat Nelson. Sumter. Bud has great feet not to run around. He has good. He's not a mover though. He has good feet. Great feet? I don't know. At this version, you think his feet were great against Majimov? You know what I'm saying? When we say it has, we should probably use the proper adverbs. Has, had. Would you say his feet were great against Majimov? Did he have to use his feet against EJ? He just marauded against EJ. Stayed right on that line. What about Callum Fernando? Callum, easy victory over Vargas. Sumter, this is Sumter's guy here. Yeah, he's not going to beat Bektemir, by the way, perfect parlay. There's no way. Bektemir's that dude. You guys just don't know about him. 17-0, 15 stoppages. I think he's a Kazakh fighter. The fight's on right now. Pitbull Roach. Yeah, I saw they just signed that. I'm sold on Roach. I think Pitbull's a level below. Not going to lie, I have Pitbull against Roach. You have Pitbull against Roach. Roach ain't really a slick... Did you watch Pitbull? Did you watch Roach against Tank? Yeah, dude, Roach against Tank. Him catching, countering in the pocket? Right there, boy. Staying... The thing that I slept on Roach that I wasn't aware of was his ability to take that heat and not exit the pocket and still be in range to counter. So when you're teaching like a day one sort of guy how to spar, right? It's why like Hollywood dramatized it in one of the Creed movies where he goes out to the desert and they're doing the tire drill and you put your front foot in the tire. And that drill, has been going on for, millennia. However way you do it, you could tie the ankle if you want. You could use a cone if you want. But the reason why they do that is, especially if you're trying to counter, you don't want to waste your movement. There's a two-step rule, my coach would say. After you exchange, if you don't like where you are in the pocket, you got a couple different options. You could use your lateral movement to the right, you could use your lateral movement to the left, or you could exit the pocket no farther than 2 steps, and then you have to make a decision. A lot of guys are, they exit too far out, they're wasting their movement. It's one of the issues I had with Shakur versus De Los Santos, is that not that he was, and I loved what Shakur did. He neutralized De Los Santos' offense. De Los Santos couldn't touch him. But why Shakur took a lot of heat for that fight is that he was exiting way farther than 2 steps, and from there you could put whatever narrative you want around that. What Roach really impressed me with against Tank was his ability to have that space, timing, and distance down perfectly. He would stand there, catch, boom, right there. Stand there, catch, boom. And Tank had never... You could tell that made Tank really uncomfortable. I mean, Tank had... I think Roach will be fine against Pitbull. Sumter is in there with Sheedy working on that hand speed, how he handled Najee Lopez power. Yeah, talk to me, though, now about Bektemir. What happens? The fights on anyone eyeing Jalil. Dude, there's a lot of fights that just hit the books. Lamont was able to take that heat, but Cruz is different from Tank. Pitbull isn't going to wait like Tank. Pitbull's concept. Yeah, Ed, what I don't like about Pitbull? I mean, there's a lot of things to like about his style. But now we're talking technical stuff. We're talking coaching. We're talking about the minutia of the sweet science. There's a lot not to like about Pitbull. There's a lot not to like. There's, how he crosses his feet. When he's trying to cut the distance, it's not a traditional, it's more like here, 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 here. And he doesn't mind getting clipped. He doesn't mind taking one. And that he's still young. It seems like Pitbull's 40 What is he, 20? He's in his, 27, 28, 29? Still young. I think Roach is too much class, though. I think he's going to be a sniper in that fight. Sayed. Guys, I got to wrap it up. I'm uploading Naoya Inoue versus MJ. And then I'm going to get to Callum Walsh versus Vargas. And then Raiko Santana versus So-Called. Has great feet, always balanced, never crosses feet. His body moves as one Canelo. Okay, yeah. I'm not arguing that it technical-wise, but almost, in this era, almost a perfect fighter, David. But is he that same guy at 68? Is he that same guy at 60? We don't know. Is he that same guy at 54? We have to talk about this. Guys, we have to talk about it. Good luck, boys. I got to run. I'm going live again today. We don't always have to agree. Dude, love the chat. You guys supporting me is amazing. My favorite thing about the chat is that we don't have to agree. Nobody wants to be in a freaking room where everyone's gassing each other up. We want to be in a room like in high school where if you got a flaw in your game, dude, don't let the boys I grew up with, don't let one of our homies find out a little flaw in your game. We're